What if I told you that some of the most revolutionary airplane technologies we've ever seen simply vanished from the skies? Welcome to American Memories, where today we're diving into the fascinating world of aviation innovations that shocked the world when they first appeared, only to mysteriously disappear, leaving us wondering what could have been. From supersonic passenger jets that could cross the Atlantic in under 4 hours to bizarre flying wing designs that looked like they came from science fiction, the history of aviation is filled with groundbreaking technologies that promised to change everything. But here's the twist. Many of these incredible innovations didn't fail because they didn't work. They disappeared for reasons that will absolutely blow your mind. So buckle up as we count down 10 airplane innovations that not only amazed the world when they first took flight, but left everyone stunned when they vanished from our skies forever. Starting our countdown at number 10, we have the Convair XFY-1 Pogo. And this aircraft was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Picture this. It's 1954, and suddenly there's an airplane that takes off and lands vertically like a helicopter, but flies like a fighter jet. The Pogo literally stood on its tail for takeoff, with the pilot lying on his back, looking up at the sky. When it was time to land, the pilot had to look over his shoulder and land the aircraft backwards on its tail. It sounds impossible, but it actually worked. The innovation here was revolutionary. An aircraft that could operate from tiny spaces without runways, giving military forces unprecedented flexibility. Test pilots successfully flew this mechanical marvel, proving that vertical takeoff and landing was possible long before the Harrier jump jet made it famous. But then, almost as quickly as it appeared, the Pogo program was canceled. The reason? The landing procedure was so dangerous that pilots nicknamed it the flying coffin. One wrong move during that backwards landing, and it was game over. At number 9, we encounter the Douglas DC-8 Super 70 series, but specifically the version that featured something called a blown flap system. Now, this wasn't about air being blown over the wings. This was far more ingenious. The DC-8 Super 70 redirected engine exhaust directly over the wing flaps, creating an artificial increase in lift that allowed the aircraft to take off and land on much shorter runways than should have been physically possible. Airlines were ecstatic because this meant they could access smaller airports and reduce operational costs dramatically. The technology worked flawlessly, and passengers had no idea they were experiencing one of the most advanced lift enhancement systems ever created. But here's where it gets interesting. This innovation disappeared not because of technical problems, but because of noise regulations. The system was so loud during takeoff that airports started banning these aircraft due to noise complaints. Within a few years, this remarkable technology was abandoned, and we've never seen anything quite like it since. Coming in at number 8 is the Sud Aviation Caravelle, and what made this aircraft absolutely revolutionary was its rear-mounted engines. In the 1950s, when everyone was mounting jet engines on the wings, French engineers had a completely different idea. They put the engines on the back of the fuselage right next to the tail. This design eliminated engine noise in the passenger cabin, reduced the risk of wing damage from debris, and created a much cleaner wing design for better aerodynamics. The Caravelle was incredibly successful, and passengers loved how quiet it was compared to other jets of the era. Airlines praised its efficiency and reliability. But then something unexpected happened. This brilliant rear-engine configuration started disappearing from new aircraft designs. The reason will surprise you. It wasn't because the design was flawed. As aircraft grew larger and needed more powerful engines, mounting heavy engines at the back created balance problems and required stronger, heavier tail structures. The innovation that worked perfectly for smaller aircraft became impractical as planes got bigger, and today, rear-mounted engines are nearly extinct in commercial aviation. Number 7 brings us to one of the most heartbreaking disappearances in aviation history, the Concorde's supersonic technology. This wasn't just an airplane. It was a time machine that could transport passengers from London to New York in just 3.5 hours, traveling at twice the speed of sound. When the Concorde first entered service in 1976, it represented the pinnacle of human engineering achievement. Passengers could literally chase the sunset, arriving in New York before they left London in local time. The aircraft could cruise at 60,000 feet. so high that passengers could see the curvature of the Earth. The sonic boom it created was so powerful it could rattle windows on the ground. For 27 years, this technological marvel operated safely, carrying celebrities, business leaders, and anyone willing to pay the premium for supersonic travel. But in 2003, the last Concorde flight took place, and supersonic passenger travel disappeared entirely. What's shocking is that the Concorde didn't disappear because of the tragic accident in 2000, though that certainly didn't help. The real reasons were economics and politics, high fuel costs, limited routes due to sonic boom restrictions, and the massive expense of maintaining such advanced technology. The most advanced passenger aircraft ever built became a victim of practical considerations, leaving us with the bitter irony that we can no longer travel faster than our parents could decades ago. At number 6, we have the Northrop YB-49 flying wing, and this aircraft looked like it came from 50 years in the future. In 1947, when most aircraft still looked like traditional airplanes with distinct wings, fuselage, and tail, the YB-49 was essentially one giant wing. This revolutionary design eliminated drag-producing surfaces and created an aircraft that was incredibly efficient and nearly invisible to radar, decades before stealth technology became a household term. The flying wing could carry the same payload as conventional bombers while using significantly less fuel, and its radical shape made it extremely difficult to detect. Test pilots were amazed by its performance, and engineers knew they had created something special. But then, in what remains one of the most controversial decisions in aviation history, the entire program was suddenly canceled. The official reason was stability problems, but many believe the real reason was political. The Air Force wanted bombers from different manufacturers, and Northrop refused to play along with certain business arrangements. The flying wing disappeared for nearly 40 years until the B-2 Spirit bomber brought similar technology back, but by then we had lost decades of potential development. Imagine if this efficient, stealthy design had continued evolving. Commercial flying wings might have revolutionized air travel completely. Number 5 introduces us to the Lockheed L-2000, America's answer to the Concorde that never was. While everyone knows about the Concorde, few people realize that the United States was developing its own supersonic passenger jet that would have been even more advanced. The L-2000 was designed to carry 300 passengers at nearly 3 times the speed of sound, significantly faster and larger than the Concorde. Boeing was simultaneously developing the 2707, creating a supersonic race between American manufacturers that captured the public's imagination. These aircraft promised to make supersonic travel affordable for ordinary passengers, not just the wealthy elite. The technology was sound, the designs were revolutionary, and both companies had built successful supersonic military aircraft. But in 1971, Congress pulled the plug on government funding for supersonic transport development, and both programs vanished overnight. The shocking part? This decision wasn't based on technical limitations. It was purely political and economic. Environmental concerns about sonic booms and high development costs killed what could have been a golden age of supersonic travel. Instead of having multiple supersonic options, we ended up with only the limited Concorde, and when that disappeared, supersonic passenger travel died completely. At number 4, we encounter the Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt ISECU's revolutionary GAU-8 cannon system, but specifically the innovative approach to building an entire aircraft around a single weapon. The A-10 wasn't just designed to carry a powerful cannon, it was literally built around the massive GAU-8 Avenger, a 7-barrel rotary cannon that could fire 40,200 rounds per minute of depleted uranium shells. This design philosophy was unprecedented. Instead of adding weapons to an aircraft, engineers started with the weapon and built the airplane around it. The result was an aircraft so effective at its intended role that it became legendary among both pilots and ground troops. The innovation wasn't just the cannon itself, but the entire concept of designing an aircraft from the inside out, based on its primary weapon system. But here's what's shocking. This approach to aircraft design completely disappeared after the A-10. Modern military aircraft are designed as multi-role platforms that can adapt to different missions, rather than being optimized for a single, specific role. The specialized, purpose-built approach that made the A-10 so effective became viewed as too limiting in an era of budget constraints and versatile requirements. We may never again see an aircraft designed with such singular focus and devastating effectiveness. Coming in at number 3 is the revolutionary boundary layer control system used on the Lockheed C-130 Hercules early variants. And this technology was absolutely mind-blowing. The system worked by sucking air through thousands of tiny holes in the wing surface, eliminating the turbulent boundary layer that normally forms when air flows over the wing. This allowed the aircraft to maintain lift at much slower speeds and perform incredibly short takeoffs and landings. The innovation was so effective that C-130s equipped with this system could land on aircraft carriers without arresting cables and take off from impossibly short airstrips. Military planners were thrilled because it meant their transport aircraft could access previously unreachable locations. The technology worked perfectly and gave operators capabilities they had never dreamed possible. But then this remarkable system started disappearing from new aircraft, and the reason was both practical and frustrating. The thousands of tiny holes required constant maintenance to prevent clogging, and the powerful vacuum pumps needed to make the system work were heavy and complex. As military operations moved to different environments and maintenance became more challenging, the incredible performance benefits were outweighed by logistical difficulties. Today, this technology exists only in specialized applications, and we've never seen it applied to commercial aircraft, despite its revolutionary potential. Number 2 brings us to one of the most elegant innovations in aviation history, the SUD Aviation Supercaravel's variable geometry air intakes. This might sound technical, but the concept was brilliant in its simplicity. As jet engines evolved to become more powerful, they needed different amounts of air at different speeds. The Supercaravel solved this with air intakes that could actually change shape during flight, automatically adjusting to provide the perfect airflow for maximum engine efficiency. Pilots didn't have to do anything. The system automatically optimized itself for every phase of flight, from takeoff to cruise to landing. This innovation promised to revolutionize engine efficiency and aircraft performance across the entire flight envelope. Test flights proved the concept worked beautifully, with significant improvements in fuel efficiency and engine performance. But this remarkable technology disappeared before it could reach widespread use, and the reason reveals the harsh realities of aviation development. The variable geometry intake system was complex, expensive to manufacture, and required sophisticated control systems that were still developing in the 1960s. Airlines were concerned about maintenance costs and reliability. As simpler fixed geometry designs improved and became more efficient, the industry chose reliability over optimization, and this elegant innovation was abandoned. Finally, at number 1, we have the most shocking disappearance of all, the NASA AD-1 oblique wing aircraft, and this innovation was so radical it still looks futuristic today. Instead of having fixed wings or even variable sweep wings like some military aircraft, the AD-1 had a wing that could rotate asymmetrically. At low speeds, the wing was straight across, but as speed increased, the entire wing would pivot at an angle, with one wing tipped forward and the other swept back. This wasn't science fiction, it was real, it flew successfully, and it offered incredible advantages. The oblique wing design promised to combine the efficiency of straight wings for takeoff and landing with the high-speed performance of swept wings for cruise flight. NASA test pilots flew 79 successful flights, proving the concept worked and offered significant fuel savings and performance improvements over conventional designs. The shocking part isn't just that this revolutionary technology disappeared, it's that it disappeared despite being completely successful. The oblique wing worked exactly as designed, offered clear advantages, and presented no unsolvable technical problems. It disappeared because it looked too strange, made passengers nervous, and challenged conventional thinking about what an airplane should look like. The most radical innovation in wing design history was abandoned not because of engineering limitations, but because it was too different for the conservative aviation industry to accept. So there you have it, 10 incredible airplane innovations that shocked the world when they first appeared, only to disappear and leave us wondering what might have been. From vertical taking-off fighters to supersonic passenger jets, From flying wings to oblique wings, these technologies represented the cutting edge of human ingenuity and engineering achievement. What's truly fascinating is that most of these innovations didn't fail because they didn't work. They disappeared due to economics, politics, maintenance concerns, or simply because they were too far ahead of their time. Some were victims of changing military requirements. Others fell to airline cost-cutting, and a few were abandoned because they challenged our preconceptions about what aircraft should look like. The next time you see a modern airliner, remember that aviation history is filled with roads not taken, technologies abandoned, and innovations that could have changed everything. These disappeared aircraft represent not just engineering achievements, but glimpses into alternative futures where air travel might have been faster, more efficient, or completely different from what we know today. What do you think? Which of these disappeared innovations do you wish had survived and evolved? Are there any other aircraft technologies you remember that seemed to vanish without explanation? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing your thoughts about aviation history and the technologies that got away. If you enjoyed this journey through aviation's lost innovations, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the fascinating world of American memories. Until next time, keep looking up and wondering about the incredible machines that once filled our skies, but now exist only in our memories and dreams of what could have been.